What advice would you give to someone if you had a loved one that was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer?
My cancer, and pretty much all cancers, I believe, is a metabolic disease. When the mitochondria goes wrong. Thus, I caused my cancer.
Obesity has replaced smoking as one of the top risk factors.
Right now, we have cancers developing in people as early as 30s and 40s.
1,700 Americans dying a day from cancer. Hundreds of thousands of people dying from cancer a year. Millions and millions over time.
Young women now, very young women, getting breast cancer. They don't smoke, they don't drink. Why are they getting breast cancer if they're so healthy?
Just having this chronic inflammation for years and years leads to cancer.
My answer to your question would be, yeah, probably diet would seem to be one of the biggest factors in terms of the development of cancers in people. Absolutely.
The fourth reason I got cancer, and it may not have caused cancer, but it definitely contributed to spreading, metastasizing, and growing, is the nutrient carbohydrates. There's quite a bit of research on glucose, carbs, sugar, in terms of what it does for cancer.
The heart disease, the cancer, what we call, guess what? The diseases of civilization, because of the diets.
If I'm ever diagnosed with full-blown cancer, they give me hope that I know I'm on the right track already. I've already started the proper diet to help fight that and to heal my metabolism to help fight it.
You have to understand how food affects the human body, and we kind of laugh in frustration that doctors just haven't been taught about nutrition, and that's been true for now, 30, 40 years. So most doctors are not trained in the right way to approach nutrition.
If you had stage 4 colon cancer, which I have, what type of diet would you do if you had exactly what I had?
What advice would you give to someone if you had a loved one that was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer? What advice would you give a loved one who was diagnosed with a serious late-stage cancer? If you had a friend or a loved one, what advice would you give to them?
What advice would I give to a family member or a friend with a cancer diagnosis?
The system is broken. There's a new path. There's a new way here to manage cancer without toxicity, and people react very, very against it.
I'm inoperable. I'm incurable. They've classified me as terminal. What type of diet would you do if you had exactly what I had?
I would eat absolutely nothing else except fatty red meat, probably 2 to 1 grams of fat to protein. I would absolutely not eat anything else. I would get grass-fed and finished if I could. And I would probably twice daily check my blood ketones and blood glucose and keep my GKI level at least below 2 and endeavor to get below 1 if possible. You can do that with a combination of diet and fasting.
But if people just ate real, whole, one ingredient foods, like you shop the perimeter, you eat cheese, so dairy, so full fat dairy, you're eating eggs, you're eating fresh meat.
So immediately when I started eating lots of red meat, which had basically been absent in my diet for, the previous 30 years, the mental energy just came and I was feeling so good.
The federal government has put in billions and billions of dollars to build a platform to attack cancer as a genetic disease, and it's not working. The problem with the vegan diet is there's a lot of carbs in the plants. And you got to be chewing like a farm animal all day long.
So Bayer could very likely go bankrupt. Bayer, who bought Monsanto and owns the Roundup name. So they are likely to go bankrupt because they're already $13 billion into paying off plaintiffs for their cancer.
Imagine my hopelessness when after chemo, they handed out cookies, knowing full well cancer thrives on sugar. It was as if I was drowning and my trusted rescuers tossed me an anchor.
Cancer cells thrive on glucose and glutamine. Everybody feels that you have to cure cancer. The issue here is, how about living far longer than would ever be expected? What's wrong with that? A lot of folks say, I never felt better in my life since I had cancer. When you do metabolic therapy, you get rid of your diabetes, you get rid of your high blood pressure, your hypertension, you get rid of all that other stuff.
If you had a friend or a loved one that was diagnosed with a terminal cancer and they came to you for advice, what sort of advice would you give them? My name is Carrie. I'm filming a documentary called Healing Humanity. And if you want to see more stories like the story you're watching right now, please help us out. Our project is entirely crowdfunded. I've been working on it for 2 years now. We want to get more stories like this from all around the world. Please donate at donate.healinghumanity.movie. Every penny goes towards the documentary. I've been working on this for 2 years now. I haven't taken a single paycheck, and I never will. Our goal is to reach millions of people who are hopeless in the world. We're doing a documentary, we're doing a series. If you want to support us, please donate or join our membership site so we can support you. $15 for your first month, special offer in the description below. Sign up for our newsletter, buy our merchandise, our Healing Humanity shirts, and all of those proceeds go 100% towards our documentary. Thank you so much. Now back to today's video.
I would start by saying that the idea that cancer is a genetic disease is not really up to date anymore. And so the first thing I would say to them is, it's not your fault. It's not your family's fault. There are a set of circumstances that have occurred over your lifetime that have led to some random mutation that has made it where your body developed cancer. And that's just what it is. So the first thing I would say is give yourself grace. I would also say to them is that what you want to do, rather if you have a terminal cancer where it's metastasized, let's create a body that makes it very difficult for cancer to thrive. And that type of body is a body that removes the fuel source for the cancer cells that exist in your body, because those cancer cells love glucose, and they use a process called glycolysis, which is a primitive fermentation metabolism process to kind of feed itself. So I would say if you starve cancer by having less glucose available, then what will happen is, even if this cancer is something that will ultimately, harm you in the long run, you'll delay it greatly. And I think that's what Jeff experienced. Like, if you're given a few months to live, and then I think I don't know how many months it was, but it was a lot more than he was given, right? Then, so what do you do with that extra time? How would you like to spend the next few months of your life? Dealing with the side effects of treatment, which is fine if you choose to do that, or thriving and spending time with your family and leaving value. I mean, Jeff still has a YouTube channel that people will see and people will learn from. So I just think that how we spend the balance of our lives matters. And I would want them to understand that that's a better approach. And by the way, there are some supplements. I did when we did that live stream, there's some supplements I mentioned, whether it's melatonin or omega-3 that are helpful, that help to put the stem cells of cancer into remission. So I just think that I would just give them the tools of success, inspire them, and say, let's make the rest of your life the best of your life. And I think that they'll be able to do that with the right information and knowing that they don't have to just rely on outdated approaches when we have up-to-date approaches, ironically rooted in the most basic thing, which is what we put on our plate. So it's really reassuring that we can extend life. And in many cases, if people have curable cancer, we can make it less likely that those stem cells will come back and harm us that have cancer propensity. So I'm really excited about that, because people, they lose a lot of hope, and I want to restore hope.
What advice would you give to someone if you had a loved one that was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer?
Well, I mean, obviously that's a tough situation to be in. And obviously you want to maximize the quality of your life for as long as you may have. Maybe you beat it. Maybe you get through it. Maybe you don't. But I think you want to, do the things that are important to you, spend time with your family, loved ones, do those things that you can, maximize your quality of life. I mean, get good sleep, get in the sunshine, eat a good, healthy diet, exercise, be strong, keep a positive mindset. I think those are things you can do. And I think as far as various other treatments, I mean, I'm not here to say that you should, completely ignore conventional advice, but I mean, I think you should ask serious questions and say, what is the likely outcome of this treatment option? Is it going to cure my disease? If it is going to extend my life, how long will it be? What will be the trade-offs with that? Is my quality of life going to go down? Because the reality is, if you've got an aggressive late stage cancer, you probably are not going to live that much longer. I don't care what your diet is. But again, as Jeff shows, he had an extra 27 months beyond what he was supposed to have with his family. Hopefully a lot of that was quality time. You think about it, I get an extra 2 years, 2.5 years with my family. So, I mean, maximize the quality of life. And I would think in terms of quality of life, not in terms of quantity. And so you want to maximize that quality of life and do what you can to do that. And I think that comes down to the same things we should be all doing anyway: eating well, sleeping well, spending time with the ones we love, let them know that, and keep a positive and open mind. If you had a loved one who was diagnosed with a serious late stage cancer, what advice would you give to them?
So first off, ketosis, a very high level of ketosis, a very deep ketosis. So 2.0 or higher, and that would be with a Keto Mojo. That's the type of meter that we use with our clinical trials. It's the only one allowed to be used in clinical trials. Do not use a breath meter. That's not going to give you accurate reading. High levels of ketosis to completely starve the cancer cells. And they will also bring down the burden of inflammation on the body, of just all of the processes in the body that, there's oxidative stress and things. So it'll bring that down and allow the immune system to get in and see what's going on and attack the cancer. The second thing would be thymus. Many people don't know that, taking thymus, which is a particular organ of the gland of the cow or another animal, is going to help you take in more T cells, help you get those attacks away, the natural killer cells. What they found with clients in studies was even those who had their thymus removed, they were able to supplement by just eating thymus, and their body reacted as though they still have the immune system. So you have the thymus gland, and then you have the whole intestinal tract. And those are the two ways that the body's immune system really functions. And then the third thing would be using the broth. So we have a specific type of broth that we use, 48 ounces a day, and that's made a specific way. And what that does is it nourishes the immune system and the nervous system in a really powerful way. It gives so much glycine and proline that you cannot get, if you're just eating muscle meat. It's impossible. And so it's twofold. So it's going to calm the body, like putting the whole body in a hot bath. It's going to do that internally when you take in the broths. But secondly, it's going to allow the fat and the nutrients. It's very nutrient dense broth. Go right through the lymph system, go straight to the heart and pump it to the whole body. And so we see that it strengthens the body very quickly and allows the body to get the nutrients it needs to fight the cancer.
What advice would I give to a family member or a friend with a cancer diagnosis? First of all, most importantly, be your own advocate. Think for yourself, because nobody has to deal with the choices and the repercussions of each choice we make. With all that being said, the most important thing besides being your own advocate is never, ever, ever in your life let a diagnosis of cancer or a disability diagnosis, any type of diagnosis, don't ever, ever, ever let the diagnosis define who you are and what you're capable of. In my own instance, in my own example, with the cancer diagnosis I deal with, it has been the best thing that happened to me in my life. I am blessed to have cancer and to survive and thrive with cancer. That's incurable. And I'm going to be a firm believer that I'll be the first one in the United States of America to win just cancer naturally, without treatment, without help from Western medicine oncologists. I gave them their chance and they almost killed me. So that leads to step 3. Step 1 is be your own advocate. Step 2 is to never allow the disease or illness or diagnosis to define who you are and what you're capable of. Step 3 is the power of nutrition and mindset. Our mindset will make or break one's health. For one, you have to believe you're going to win at all costs. In my own instances, that day I got this stage 4 diagnosis, was my 31st birthday. I told the oncologist that day, I'm not going to let the disease and diagnosis define who I am and what I'm capable of. The cancer could ride in my back pocket or my side pocket, but it will never, ever live my life and control my life. That's my job and my responsibility. Be open-minded is number 4, you know. Doctors aren't God. Doctors don't know everything. They just know what they're trained and taught. But their training and what they've been taught can never, ever replace what you as an individual could feel and know. And again, no amount of training for any instances from a doctor standpoint can allow that doctor to feel what you feel and go through. That is, you as an individual have that power to understand how you feel and what you go through. A doctor could only know what you tell them. With all that being said, step 4 would be, how do I word this? Step 4 would be, a body in motion stays in motion. Don't just sit there and pray and hope for the best and do exactly what the doctors tell you to do and think you're going to win. Some of us are lucky enough to just sit there and do what the doctors tell us to do and have some luck and win. But the vast majority of us have to apply ourselves to learn nutrition, learn exercise, get right with spiritualness, believe in our hearts that we have the power within ourselves to win at all costs. It's not selfish. It's only right. You know, we have to put ourselves first to understand what we need. In my own case, I am blessed for this diagnosis. It's been the best thing to happen to me. I'm happier now with stage 4 cancer than I've been in my entire life. And that's because I've applied myself to not only win and survive with the cancer, but thrive with the cancer. I am bigger, smarter, and stronger now than I've ever been in my whole entire life. And it's because I've applied myself, because I didn't want to die at 31 years old. And all of us have that power to do what I'm doing. Be our own advocate. Be open-minded. Don't let the illness define who we are and what we're capable of. Or the disease, whatever you want to call it. Don't let it define what we could do. And just have intentions with what we put in our bodies and do with our bodies. A body in motion stays in motion. A body at rest will deteriorate. And we have to feed our bodies properly. I'm a firm believer that I caused the cancer to come out of my own body through my lifestyle and food choices. And I'm a firm believer I can win against this cancer through lifestyle and food choices naturally. And I'm a firm believer that each and every one of us have the power to do what I'm doing. We just have to believe in ourselves, do a bunch of homework and research, and don't be afraid to fail and learn.
What advice would you give a loved one if they were diagnosed with cancer?
It is, yeah. I mean, we're all faced with this question. I mean, even what we would do ourselves. And it hits home for me because part of, what I've been called into is, the inspiration from seeing somebody so young die of cancer, a young mother. I share about in the book. And that person not having the support, what she needed to make changes. I also have, we all do. We have people close to us suffering with cancer. And if I could only just give this to them, right? But that's what I would do for anyone, in myself, anybody. I would lean in harder. I would, to that person, just, make an extreme change if you can. And if you can't, that's okay. Don't just not do anything, right? We're so tempted to say, if I can't be all in, I can't do it. And that's a lie. Because not all of us are going to be ready to just go hardcore in. And some of us are, need a slower approach. And that's okay. It's God's timing. we just have to bring our willingness, right? That's it. We have to bring our trust and our willingness in the process. And yeah, I would just want to give that person hope, because I think they go and they don't have much of that when they're going into the big medical. And it's basically, this is your lot. Here we go. We'll try to help you. But I feel like there's much more that we can do ourselves to help ourselves to be the best we can be in this life.
If I had cancer, one of my family members had cancer, I'd educate myself. I would look at the risks and benefits of either the standard of care or any other therapy I'm considering. And then I would adhere to it, because a big problem with metabolic therapy is that you do have to actually adhere to it or it's not going to work. And that's fully in your power.